special because we have speakers from amongst us coming and sharing the experiences that they are very proud of. We call it the BET Talk. We also have a very interesting talk by the team Brahma. Without delay, I call upon Rishabh as we start the talk.
How many of you know what BET is all about? Any one of you saw what the full form of BET is? The participants are not allowed. So, BET at GS is a talk which could be on business, your experience or technology. So, as you all can guess, the origin of this came from the TED Talks that I think most of us would have seen sometime or the other. And I think it was Arun who came up with the idea saying that why not have something like this for people within GS, and especially during this event, because this is all about people development as well, and this being one of the key areas of development on presentation, on communication, so this is how it kind of originated. The step one was to call for entries, and so we opened it up for everyone to send an abstract on what they would like to talk about. The response was overwhelming, and much more than expected. So we had around 35 odd entries which people sent, and the abstracts were all really good. In fact, it was a very, very tough job to zero down to the 5 for this edition, but then it had to be done, so it was done. So then we had the 5 people who were selected for this. The next step was to have them trained, because we can't expect them to overnight become a great orator. So the organizing team then had the job to find the best trainer who could do this, which they did. And the trainer came in last week and spent multiple sessions with people to coach them on this and to make them do things that they would not have otherwise done, and basically prepare them for this job. So this is how this whole thing came, and now I guess they are all ready. I would say, as Ranjita already mentioned, that this is probably the most special event of Renaissance for multiple reasons. For the participants, because they have spent donkey hours just for the preparation. In fact, if you would see the last couple of weeks, that training room has only been occupied by them or the dancing groups. Yeah? So I think for them it's special. Also, the APOs, the managers and architects, because they also have a stake in whatever people are going to talk about. The organizing team, because this is the legacy that they will leave behind. The idea is that we have more such editions, and this is something which, if it continues, would be really a proud moment for them. And finally, I would say the hope is that it is special for all of you as well, because that is the ultimate aim. So only if you are able to appreciate it is where all the efforts would be worthwhile. Yeah? So without what is this? IT. Some technical glitch. But I would probably still want to start the introduction for the first topic, basically. Maybe not the speaker right now, but the topic is to do with customers, and it has been touched even in this Renaissance probably a couple of days back. It's more to do with the times when the customers are nasty to us. How many of us have had experiences where the customers have not been so nice to us? So for those who are not raising their hands, either you are very good or you have not had too many experiences with the customer, because more or less every time or the other, once in a while, all of us get that experience where the customers behave in a way which we do not like. So how do we handle this? All of us have different ways of handling this, and the first speaker of the day would be talking about how he handled such a situation. So I would like to call upon Madhu Nagaraj from the GPM team to maybe come on the stage and just wait for this to get over and then we can start. Yeah?
Replace the laptop with another laptop.
Just connect your laptop.
Actually user password.
Madhu.
No, but SAP Labs 123 something is there, no? The IT person.
Again, we'll change the laptop.
In the meantime, if any of you would like to come and say something on the stage.
Yeah, password ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಹೇಳೋದು.
Okay, so Anand is here and then.
Without the lights.
No, switch on the lights. Second dash.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am Madhu Nagaraj from Product Management team, and today I would like to start my talk with a code. It's not working, Customers don't expect you to be perfect. They do expect you to fix things when they go wrong. If you are not fixing things, what happens? They escalate. It's as simple as that. So being a product manager, I'm handling customer escalations from past 18 months, and today I want to share a few of my experiences and learnings with you all. So let's start. But before I get into my actual topic, I'd like to show you two very interesting videos. In the first video, the situation is the passengers are waiting in the airport, and the airport staff announces that the flight has been cancelled. So how do people react? Watch the video carefully. I'm going to ask the question to you guys.
Everybody has commitment. They are not fine. They are not coming. Not good.
No, I don't know. Their community or theirs or something wrong. I don't know.
There is no other company. What do you mean by there? There is no somebody else. That there is who is paying your salary.
We understand that.
You are not alienated.
Okay. The question is very simple. What is your observation on the passenger's reaction?
You're angry, frustrated,
Yeah.
unhappy.
You're 90% right, remaining 10%.
Money for money.
Okay. Let me tell you the exact observation. The exact observation is, how can people get angry with such a pretty girl? Yeah. Okay. The second video, the situation is, the person is already frustrated with some of his personal problems, and he is angry on every minor fault he is finding in the hotel lobby. Have a look.
I can't find a plug. When was this building built? The 40s? There's a plug. There's not a plug around here? Look at this. Is where the plug goes. Right there. Still with the coffee. What is going on here, guys? Coffee? Oh, just a moment. Okay.
Now, why does customer gets angry? There are n number of reasons for customer to get angry, but I have considered three basic reasons. The first one is the financial loss, which means the customer is undergoing financial loss for none of his faults. Okay. The second one is the broken commitments. In the first video, you saw the lady said everybody has commitments, which means her commitments got broken or delayed due to the flight cancellation. Now, the third one, no alternate solutions found. In the second video, you saw they could have still provided him with the coffee mug or the coffee or the plug point, which they didn't do, and they could have still managed the situation well. So it is very important to understand the customer. Now, what does all these reasons finally leads to? It leads to escalation. Okay, so customer escalation is a scenario wherein customer is unhappy with the employee interaction and he's going to escalate it to the next higher level in the same company, so he's going to get some solution out of it. We also face such customer escalation in SAP. In 2013, we released a new SRM product to the market, which addresses the security features of an e-procurement system. The first customer who implemented this solution is Hindustan Lifecare Limited, HLL. To introduce the customer, it's very interesting because they are one of the world's largest condom manufacturers and they have the planned capacity of producing 100 crore pieces every year. I still remember once Arun said that we SAP support from flight to fantasy. On one hand, we had this new solution taking its initial steps to the market, but on the other hand, we had a very tough and challenging customer, partner and field contact. So as the implementation progressed, there were lots of gaps identified in the product. So day by day we started receiving a lot of escalation calls. So handling these escalation calls, I've learned few things and those things I want to share it with you. Okay. The first one is, it's business, it's not personal. I still remember one day I got a call from an unknown number, and the moment I picked the call, the person on the other side, he just started shouting at me. He also made statements like he's going to lose his job, he's going to lose the customer. So I was still thinking whether it might be some insurance guy who has called me, and I politely asked him, sir, may I know who is this? And the customer replied that he is the account manager of HL. Okay, I have to be very serious. And the guy still kept on shouting at me. But it was very important for me to maintain that calmness throughout the call, because the moment I start reacting to his offensive statements, the call ends up with a fight rather than me finding a solution to his problem. So in a workplace, I always believe that we have to work from the logical space rather than working from the emotional space. If you start taking things too much personally or emotionally, I think I may have to quit SAP and join Infosys. Avoid saying no to the customer directly. Yes, there were some situations wherein I had to say no to the customer directly. Okay, due to some internal challenges like lack of resources. But I cannot go and tell the customer that I have lack of resources and I cannot give solution to you. So how can I tackle such situations? We can always collect the evidences and strong points, so it's going to support my argument of saying no to the customer. So how this can be done? We can do it by means of field contacts who knows the market very well and who can validate the requirement from the market perspective, and also by speaking with the other customers who can validate from the business process perspective. So with all these strong points and the evidences, I will still be able to say no to the customer, but indirectly and confidently. So the next one, do not assume. Initially, when the implementation started, we were interacting only with the partners and not with the customers. So the partners were using different tactics wherein they used to say the customer is very bad customer, they are not going to agree for the workarounds, they are not the reasonable customers. So we were still under that assumption, and we were giving solutions to the partners for every damn requirement they used to ask us. So it was only when I had the first call with the customer, I realized that the customer is a very reasonable customer. They are going to agree for the backgrounds also. So it's very important that I should not go always with the third person's view. Instead, I should have my own judgments with the observations and by interacting with the customer. Okay. The next one is let the customer tell the story. As you all know, the Andhra got split and Telangana was formed. At that time, I had one voices message from HLL. The issue was very simple, wherein they didn't want to transact in the plant, which is now part of Telangana. So I thought this issue is very simple and it can be handled by authorizations. So what I did was, I took my manager Madhu into a conference room. I set up a call with the customer, and what I thought was the moment I'm going to tell the solution to him, the customer is going to praise me and it might help me for my appraisals. So the call started, and I asked the customer that, sir, could you please show me the Excel wherein you have maintained the authorizations? The customer replied, what authorizations and which Excel sheet are you speaking about? Believe me, it was such an embarrassing situation for me. You should have seen my face that day. So I would have still avoided this situation if I had listened to the problem statement completely and if I had posted in right questions to get the clarity on the solutions. So with all these learnings, I believe that the unhappy customers are the greatest source of learning, and I also believe that it's just the beginning, and I welcome the further escalations with a smile.
Thanks a lot, Madhu. I think it was quite a motivating talk for the others as well, and quite a few lessons learned. The next